I'm Jack Kennedy, and we're here to bring you the latest in MMA.
Hey everybody, my name's Hunter Boss, and what the boss says goes.
What is up everyone, my name is Keelan McNamara, and you already know what time it is.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MMA Island podcast. I am Jack Kennedy alongside Keelan McNamara and Hunter Boss. And today we have probably one of the biggest news segments we've had in a long time. Let's go ahead and get started with the news. As I said just a few seconds ago, it's like an NFL trade deadline. What happened this couple of days ago for the UFC? So many fights got announced. We're going to be talking about just whatever fights we want to talk about right now, except for Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley, because that one's going to be talked about later because what's even happening. But Hunter, take it away. Just so many fights booked. Just, I don't know, talk about some of them, I guess.
That is some good instructions, Jack, and I will talk about some of them right now. Let's start with the least favorite one announcement out of them all. How about that? Yeah. Sean Brady versus Bilal Muhammad. I mean, don't get me wrong. Out of all of these, this is the worst announcement, but it is still a good announcement by far. Bilal Muhammad, I'm never excited about when I hear fight news from Bilal Muhammad. This is the first time I'm excited to hear Sean Brady versus Bilal Muhammad. I like this. I want to see who's the better wrestler. Who deserves to be in that ranking? Who wants it more? Who's the dog? And I can't wait to see that fight happen. And there's so many more matches that happen. Nate Diaz, Khamzat Chimaev. Oh, my God. UFC 279. Someone help us, please. Well, Nate Diaz got the help that he needed. He's been calling out on Twitter every day. He says, I want to be released or get me a fight. The UFC decided, you know what? We'll get you a fight. We'll get you a fight. And then we'll get you a nice little slap on the ass on the way out, too, by giving him the wolf Khamzat Chimaev. That is such a mean thing that the UFC has done. But who cares? Because Nate Diaz always wants the heat. Come on. And finally, there are so many more. But I'm gonna touch on two more. All right. Okay. I'm gonna stay away from the title fights. Gamrot versus Beneil Dariush. What a freaking matchup! I think when we talk about what's next for Gamrot, I think a few of us did say Beneil Dariush. So yep, here too. Yep. I didn't want to toot my own horn, but here I am. Yep. Do it anyway. And so. That match is going to be fantastic. Beneil Dariush and Gamrot's going to be a scrap if I've ever seen one. I mean, and when I say scrap, I mean this fight can go anywhere, and it will go anywhere because they're going to start standing. Both of them, they're both pretty decent strikers, but the ground game's where it's at for both of these fighters. I think Gamrot's a little bit smoother in his transition, but Beneil kind of drags out the fight and makes it a dog fight. So it's going to be a gruesome fight. And the title fights, Keelan, why don't you tell us about them?
Yes, I will, Hunter. Oh, my good Lord. This has been one of the best, the most glorious of days to be involved in MMA media. It was mental. To put it quite simply, it was mental. I mean, where do I even start? I don't even know. It's like Oprah Winfrey. You get a fight. You get a fight. Everybody gets a fight. That's basically what we're dealing with here. I'm not even going to go into the fights that Hunter mentioned because I think my head might finally explode. All I'm going to say is, though, even though he is my draft pick who will be fighting, I do want Nate to win just as a final middle finger to the UFC. Just because, I mean, we're living in an alternate reality. We may as well just keep going down the rabbit hole because we're there anyway. It is what it is. Now on to the title fights. Oh my, these are interesting. We have got Aljamain Sterling and TJ, my favorite fighter to ever exist, Dillashaw. This is a really interesting fight for quite a lot of reasons. We have Aljamain Sterling, who did a very good job of managing to beat Petr Yan over 5 rounds this time, not getting knocked out, not knocked out, whatever your opinion is on that. And he's facing TJ Dillashaw, whom I'm not too sure if he should be fighting for the belt. I've made my arguments about that over the last weeks and months, but we're here, we deal with what we have. I think this will actually be an easier fight for Aljo than the Yan fight. I still maintain it. I think TJ Dillashaw's lost half a foot of pace. I think he's still a great fighter. He's just not as quick a fighter as he once was. But you know what? Age and injury catch up to us all. It's not his fault. It just is what it is. But it's going to be a really great fight. It absolutely is going to be. And then we have a main event from the gods themselves in Abu Dhabi. Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. This might be the single biggest fight of the year. In fact, I think it is the biggest fight of the year. Hunter's going absolutely, early 2000s MMA fan. That is what Hunter is going here. And I'm with him and I'm with Jack. We want to see blood. This is what it's all about. My God, this might be one of the best fights I've ever seen in the lightweight division. I think it's going to be that good. We're going to do a lot more breakdown covering this, so I'm not going to go into depth into it. But this is the fight we wanted to see. This is what all of us wanted. Charles Oliveira, the people's lightweight champion. Realistically, he is the lightweight champion against the second coming of Khabib that nobody asked for, Islam Makhachev. And this is going to be an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. And it is going to be one of the most intriguing and compelling title fights that I've ever seen, to put it very, very simply. That's all I'm going to say for now, because I think I might have a heart attack on camera if I go any more into it. Jack, what you got for us?
Well, I mean, just first off, well said, everybody. There's not too much to add on to this because it's just ridiculous in itself. I mean, just look at some of the fights we've already talked about, right? Makhachev, Oliveira, Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. What is going on? What world are we living in? I mean, then you talk about TJ Dillashaw, Aljamain Sterling, a fight which I think is actually very, very close, an amazing bantamweight fight on the same card as Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. That card is ridiculous. You know what else is on that card? Sean Brady, Beneil Dariush, or sorry, my bad. Sean Brady versus Bilal Muhammad. I had trouble remembering the name. I'm sorry.
They're easily confused.
Yeah. Okay, we're excited, okay? It's hard to, all the names are flying around. We got like 8 announced fights now. It's crazy.
I can't remember a time. It's seriously like, I'm going to be honest, maybe this is just me, but this year, especially compared to last year, 2021, like every single pay-per-view was beyond stacked. This year, it's felt like the fight announcements have kind of been slowing down, and like there's 1 or 2 good fights on every pay-per-view. Some pay-per-views are better than others. And then like yesterday happened, and it just was like, okay, finally we're getting just all of the fights that Dana White's been just waiting. He's been hanging out with the Nelk boys this whole time, and now they're ready to go with everything. So this is ridiculous. Honestly, the fight is, which is on those also on the same card. 3 or 4 of these are on the same card. Beneil Dariush versus Gamrot is going to be ridiculous. Hunter, you're right. I was right. We predicted this for our little lightweight roundabout, whatever we did. It's going to be such a crazy fight on the ground, on the feet, everything. Gamrot's amazing. Beneil Dariush has been waiting for a fight. It's such a good matchup, and it's just one of those sleeper fights. Sean Brady versus Sean Brady versus Bilal Muhammad is going to work, because both of those guys are wrestlers and don't have a great stand-up game. So what's going to happen most likely is we're going to get a couple good scrambles, but they're probably going to cancel each other out in the wrestling, and we're going to end up with a stand-up war is most likely what's going to happen, similar to Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. Similar styles usually end up having fight on the feet. It's ridiculous. I'm losing my mind. And by the way, we're going to do a little segment in between this to calm down a little bit in just a few seconds. But this isn't even the most insane fight that's been booked. We haven't even mentioned that yet. We haven't even talked about that yet. So leave it where you are. Amazing time to be an MMA fan. Just process that while we move on to this segment. All right, everybody? Okay. Here we go. Now we're doing another game, a Would You Rather segment. Although I guess it's not really a game, but Would You Rather, right? We're all going to be around. We have our own Would You Rather question. We're going to be asking it. The other two will answer and talk about why. Try and, get some interesting input in before we talk about, move on to the best of the best. But would you rather, I guess, Hunter, get us started with your would you rather question.
I've got to get us started?
I guess.
Okay. You're the boss. Of course you got to start it.
I can do it. I can do it. I can get us started.
Okay.
All right, boys. Here's a good one. Who would you rather have headline MSG? Conor McGregor or Jorge Masvidal?
No, Conor.
100%.
100%?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No matchups for Masvidal that you guys would like?
No. Conor million.
What about the Conor McGregor Masvidal matchup?
It's not bad. I'd rather Connor Chandler, honestly, or Connor. Well, I would have rather Connor Diaz 3, but that's not going to happen.
Well, the thing is, it's actually a really interesting question, Hunter. And the reason it's interesting is that we've actually seen both of those. We've seen the BMF fight that headline, and we've seen 205. Now, if you're asking me to compare which atmosphere is better, it's 205 and it's not close.
Yeah.
But if you put McGregor and Masvidal together, I would watch that. Absolutely. I maybe put the BMF belt on there. You know, it gives Connor something that he can claim he's won since he's been back.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're asking me, would I rather Conor McGregor or Jorge Masvidal headline? It is Conor. I mean, the whole Irish thing, New York, yada, yada, yada. He played it to a T, and it's still arguably the most loved fight card of all time. So for me personally, it's Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Cool. All right.
Right.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, I've got a question for both of you now. Obviously, Hunter's hit us with this really good one. And this one is on the topic of hypothetical dream super fights. Would you rather George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva had fought, or if we got to see John Jones and Francis Ngannou?
Ooh.
Just for me personally, I'd rather see the John Jones and Ngannou fight, just because it could happen in the near future, so it's fun to dream about that stuff. B, we're seeing the best light heavyweight of all time versus the most powerful striker that the world has ever seen. You know, like, I mean, this guy hits as hard as a Ford Escort going at maximum speeds. We've all heard this statistic before. It is absolutely insane. So just to see what skill could do versus power, I feel like I think it's a good comparison. I would love to see that matchup personally. And I think the other matchup's great. Anderson Silva versus George St. Pierre, two of the greatest to do it of all time. But I feel like I have an idea of how that fight will go down.
I agree.
As it is. So I would rather see John Jones versus Ngannou out of pure curiosity of how I would not know how the fight would end.
Yeah, I think if GSP Anderson Silva would to, like, if it actually happened, that would just, like, I don't even know. That would almost be like a peak for the sport. I feel like it would be hard to come down off of that, you know? Like Avengers, like Endgame happened, and then after that, Marvel's kind of struggled to catch a rhythm. I feel like that might have happened, right? But I agree. I think GSP probably would have won it because of the wrestling and the pace he puts on, especially at that time that Silva was the champ. I'll agree with you, Hunter, just because there's so many unknowns. Like, we don't know what John Jones is going to look like at heavyweight. All we know is about Ngannou, right? Ngannou now has decent wrestling. He won his last fight by wrestling. His power, you know, greatest you've ever seen. So yeah, I like that question a lot. I'm gonna agree with Hunter though. I'm gonna go John Jones versus Francis Ngannou just because so many unknowns. We just don't know what's gonna happen.
I love that answer, guys. That was an amazing argument. I'm actually really intrigued by it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the answers.
Yeah, no, 100%. Okay. So for me, right, I'm going to go with, would you rather see, this is a fan preference, right? Khamzat Chimaev become champion at welterweight, or Tom Aspinall become champion at heavyweight?
Khamzat, I think.
Yeah.
I think heavyweight has its spectacle right now, if that makes sense. I think, don't get me wrong, Usman is a fantastic champion. He always will be pound for pound champ currently, but it's not necessarily like eye-grabbing all the time. Usman has fantastic finishes, fantastic knockouts, but he hasn't always been that way. Khamzat kind of has that superstar potential right now. Aspinall does too, probably just in a different, across the sea for me right now. I think Aspinall is still fantastic. Love the fighter, and I'd love to see him as champion, but heavyweight has its spectacle. It's the strongest striker in the world. I don't think I need to see another like new spectacle like that out of the heavyweights right now. What I'd like to see is the spectacle out of welterweight. I want to see that attention grabbing. I want all eyes towards Khamzat. I want everyone to be like, oh my God, this is a Khamzat pay-per-view coming up. I'm going to tune in and watch that welterweight title fight. I want people to think of Khamzat like they thought of Conor McGregor. And I don't think Tom Aspinall can get that level of stardom. So I'm going to go with Khamzat at welterweight.
This is really interesting because I actually agree with Hunter. I would rather Khamzat Chimaev as champion I was going to make an absolutely awful joke there, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to stick to the facts for once.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. We're not getting cancelled. We stay non-cancelled on the MMA Island podcast. Yeah. The reason I like Khamzat Chimaev as champion is actually a slightly different reason. Hunter's already outlined the perfect reason there. I'm not going to build on that. The reason I want Khamzat Chimaev as welterweight champion is not only because I think he'd be an amazing champion, but because he'd be crazy enough to go up to middleweight and win the title there as well. And quite frankly, I would love to see it too. I'd love to see a champ at welterweight and middleweight. I really would. I mean, I respect Kamaru Usman and Israel Adesanya, but if you guys know what I've talked about for a while, I don't really like this buddiness that prevents people from challenging for champ status. I think if you're going to be inactive, then fair enough, don't go up and challenge for a title. I'm looking at you again, Connor. But I think with someone like Khamzat Chimaev, say he wins the welterweight title, right? Say he beats Kamaru Usman for that belt. He has made it clear he would go up to middleweight and fight Israel Adesanya for that belt. And that fight would happen. And I think Chimaev would have a good chance as well. The guy is massive and he would be a big middleweight as well. So not only would he go up, break the monotony and challenge for both belts, he'd actually have a really good chance at both as well. So for me, I agree with Hunter. I would rather have Khamzat Chimaev as champion, but for a slightly different reason. I think he would break up the circle at those two divisions.
I love that answer. Yeah, completely agree. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the best of the best. And the best of the best today is related to news. It's the best news, I think, that's been released. Brace yourselves, everybody. Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley has been booked officially, or maybe not officially, but it's basically done.
Officially.
It is official.
It is official.
Hunter, what are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts?
Yeah.
Mainly mind blown. Maybe I don't have many thoughts. It's just like my last brain cell.
Yeah,
is ready to watch that fight. I'm telling you right now. Petr Yan versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. Let me tell you guys about this matchup. If you guys have never heard of either of these fighters, okay, I'm gonna give it to someone who's never heard of this. Okay, Sean O'Malley has not touched the top 15 fighters in the UFC yet. He just hasn't. He hasn't yet. He hasn't faced a ranked opponent, or he tried to face a ranked opponent. Did not go anyone's way. All right. Didn't go the fans' way. Didn't go Sean's way. Didn't go Pedro's way. All right. The UFC's thinking now, obviously, since he hasn't fought anyone like in top 15 caliber talent, let's give him the number one contender who and arguably is the champion right now and is arguably one of the best MMA fighters on the roster. Petr No Mercy Yan. Mind is completely blown right now, guys. I don't think you guys understand. Sugar Sean O'Malley has 8 fights, 8 wins in the UFC, none of those being ranked opponents. And now they're taking a chance and moving him all the way to the number one contender. I mean, that is insane, guys. The UFC doesn't do shit like this, okay? They don't ever do this stuff. This is the first year in which they're trying new things like this, or at least they haven't been doing this for years, I should say. They used to do this all the time. They haven't done these matchups in years. I love how they're giving chances to these unranked fighters. Like Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. That fight didn't make any sense at all to make. But still, it proved that Alex Pereira was ready for these top-ranked middleweights. And they're trying to get a bantamweight. And all I've got to say is that's some mad respect. UFC's got some big balls to do this, all right? And honestly, the balls may be big, but it's not that big of a deal because anyone would watch this fight. Oh, yeah. Even if it doesn't make sense. Sugar Sean O'Malley is one of the top 5, most attractive names in the UFC right now for new fans and regular fans because everyone likes to watch him fight. He puts on a show. He's good on the mic. He's fantastic always around. And Petr Yan kind of resonates with those diehard fans, like all my co-hosts right here. Petr Yan's my favorite fighter on the roster by far. Sean O'Malley's top 5 favorite fighters on the roster. You can tell this is going to be a matchup made from hell. So tune in, boys. UFC 280 is going to be a banger.
Guys, where do I even go with this? I don't know where to go. Left, right, up, down, north, east, south. Where do I go with this? How am I meant to process the fact that a guy who hasn't even cracked rankings is fighting the number 1 ranked bantamweight on planet Earth. What is happening? Can someone help me understand this? Is it me no habla español? What has happened? How have we gone from there to here? I don't even know. I think I actually have an answer, though. If you remember the first Scary Movie, whenever there was that phone scene and they were all saying, "What's up?" That's how this fight got done. That is how, I bet you this is what happens. Dana White is smoking crack with the Nelk boys or whatever the hell they do. He rings Sean O'Malley, who's probably high from his podcast, and he says, "Hey, Sean, you want to fight Petr Yan?" "Yeah, sure, let's fight Petr Yan." They ring Petr Yan, who's probably sat sober, and Petr Yan said, "I'll fight him." And that's how this has happened.
Can I interject? I think while this is happening, Keelan, I think Sean thinks that this is Triple C, and he doesn't understand that Petr Yan's not Triple C.
1,000,000%. Yep.
That's definitely what's happened here. It's like dazed and confused all over again.
Yeah.
That's the only explanation for how this fight's happened. I mean, look, I love Sean O'Malley, but Sean O'Malley couldn't even, technically speaking, beat Pedro Munoz. And you're jumping from Pedro Munoz, a man who is on the fringes of the top 10, all the way to Petr Yan.
A little gap, a little bit.
A little leap.
Yeah, there's only like a gap of the rankings. It's not even like it's 1 or 2. You're going over the entire system to go fight. Why? But you know what? Screw it. I respect Sean for this. I respect from having the balls to do it because he called out Petr Yan and he signed on the dotted line. I mean, it's more than a lot of other fighters would have done. This out of all the fights we've ever discussed on this podcast that made no sense at all, this is the fight that has made the most no sense out of any of those nonsensical fights. So you know what? I give up trying to apply logic anymore. I'm here for it. I'll watch it. I know in our luck, Sean O'Malley will knock Petr Yan out in the first round. Imagine Sean O'Malley being the champion. You know what? I'm not going to. It's too early for that. You know, I need to go have a lie down, Jack. Just try and elaborate on that.
Keelan, you asked why. Why was this fight booked? Because it's fun. It is so fun. Okay, before I go into it, what was your reaction when you first saw it? Like I got a notification from Bruce.
I was yelling at you guys. I sent it. And I'm like, what the fuck?
As soon as I saw
I was getting tacos that day, and I just see it. I'm like, okay, fuck the tacos. Let's get some sugar.
Well, that was smooth. That was well done, Hunter. I like that. I was at work and I read this and I thought, okay, this is a troll account. This is Brett Okamoto with a second zero or something. So it actually happened. I saw this. I sent it into our group. And then I saw both of you typing at the same time. And I thought, this can't be real. This cannot be happening to my life right now. And it did. That was my reaction. I got to start smoking or something because I can't process this anymore.
Yeah, I saw a notification on my phone. It was an Instagram notification that said Brett Okamoto posted something. And I didn't look at it because I usually don't look at it because it's usually like something random. And then I just got 2 messages just like, what is going on in our group chat? And I opened it up and saw that and I just lost it. I seriously like just walked around my house looking at my phone like this, just like there's no way I have to see it 3 times to believe it. 3 people have to post about it.
Well, because ridiculous. Not even an hour prior to this, we got the Hamzat Nate Diaz news. So we were like, what? Like, and then, why are these? Oh.
No. And then before that was TJ versus Aljamain Sterling. So those 2 fights already happened. Then this one happened. And then after this one, Beneil versus Gamrot. What is going on?
You know the Vince McMahon meme of him like going through the stages and then he eventually falls over in his chair? Yeah. That is what Monday honestly was.
Yeah.
If any day in the week was a meme, that was the meme.
I'm convinced that like they accidentally leaked it somehow somewhere. Like they did the other fights that like during the summer.
Yeah.
And they're like, before we leak it, like through this interview, let's just tell everyone how it was done.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that the UFC announces
that was my reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, perfect.
I just honestly, guys, I don't even know what to say about this. I mean, I think all logic points to Sean O'Malley being murdered by Petr Yan. However, logic doesn't apply to the UFC. MMA math doesn't exist. No one knows what's going to happen. All I know is that I am stupidly excited about this. Like I am stupidly excited about this. The most on that UFC 280, which by the way, what a card. It's ridiculous. Fights I'm most excited for. It's on par with the main event. Honestly, Charles Oliveira Makhachev, this is on par for that with my excitement level, which is stupid. Why am I excited to see a guy with a 69 tattoo, afro with rainbow colors, fight the most gangster Russian person who just murders everybody he fights in the UFC? I am so excited, guys. I am so excited. And it's the stupidest matchup ever, but I love it. It's chaos and I love it. And just that's all I got to say. I love it so much.
I mean, if you'd have told me a year ago that the love child of 6ix9ine and Bob Ross was fighting the Terminator, I'd have jumped out of my window. But it's happening. That's all I can say about that.
Who put Sean O'Malley in their top 5 for the bantamweight special?
Shut up. Oh no, you're not having that. No.
Well, who also put Cody Garbrandt in their top 5 rankings?
Hey, I didn't put Sean. I was dead ass asking. I didn't put Sean.
Oh, I thought you did.
I'm like asking. I'm like, one of us did.
Oh, Keelan did. Me. Keelan, you put Sean in the top 5.
You put Sean in the top 5 bantamweight last year. So obviously, Keelan knew. All right,
it was you.
Y'all jumped on it. You put Garbrandt. Oh, you see
that was you. I forgot about that.
You guys see how many things can change in a year?
Hey,
I had Garbrandt in my top 5 for bantamweight. Keelan had Sean O'Malley. Both fighters don't deserve to be where they're at right now. It's
Pedro
crazy.
Munoz at number 5. My rankings, by the way.
Oh, good job. Good job. Yeah. You got eye pokes to the 11th place.
That eye pokes put him at number 4. Calling it now. Oh my goodness. I mean, that's a good way to end off that segment, right? I mean, that's just perfect.
I mean, see, by the end of this year, if Alex Pereira is the champion and Sean O'Malley beats Petr Yan, I'm going to look like Matt Damon from Good Will Hunting, and it would have been just total luck.
How do you like them apples, Keelan? How do you like them apples? Come on.
The Pereira thing, I will forever give you credit for, because I still don't believe in Pereira, but he's there. So
here's the thing with Pereira, and I'm just going to say it. If he fought any other of those fighters that knew how to wrestle, I think he wouldn't have won.
Yes, you're right.
Used their wrestling. Sean Strickland could have used his wrestling. I really think Sean Strickland could have.
Sean Strickland's wrestling's probably good enough.
Just his ego. It's got to be his ego. The way he was just standing there like, oh, I can kickbox.
That's just the way he fights, though, Strickland. Strickland fights standing tall like that. And that's honestly how I thought Strickland was going to win. I thought he was going to march forward like that. And I thought he was going to land the strikes before Alex Pereira did. Obviously, MMA math does not add up. We know this.
I still can't believe Sean Strickland thought he could kickbox a world kickboxing champion.
The rate this year is going by the December card, December 28th card, whatever it is going to be Sean O'Malley versus Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight title or something like that. That's the way this year is going.
Breaking news: Sean O'Malley moves up to 205 pounds.
Hey, isn't he the same height as DC?
I think so.
I think they're both 5'11". You're right. They're both 5'11".
Yep.
Oh my god, this is gonna happen now, isn't it? Hunter's just called it, and now it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Let's just move past all of that. Let it sit with you. Don't let it sit with you. We're moving on to the pick of the night. Oh my gosh, guys. All of that has happened, and we have UFC London Part 2 today, or whatever this comes out. I think this comes out Saturday. Yes, today is UFC London Part 2. What is going on? Main event: Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blades, Paddy Pimlet's on the card, Jack Hermansson's on the card, Alexander Gustafsson's back on the card. Hunter, main event prediction. What you got?
Honestly, guys, this is my easiest pick out of the whole main card. I think this is Tom Aspinall's win right here.
Yep.
He has what it takes to win on the feet, and we've seen how good his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills are. If Curtis Blades wants to win this matchup tomorrow night or tonight in terms of today, he's going to have to make this a boring, ugly fight. And I really don't want to see the fight in which Curtis Blades wins, if you guys know what I'm talking about. All right. I think Tom Aspinall has what it takes to outstrike Curtis Blades. We've seen Curtis Blades striking. He can strike pretty well. In the Derek Lewis matchup, I hate to bring it up, but he was winning all the striking exchanges.
Yeah, he was.
Until he didn't, obviously. And that's exactly what can happen with Tom Aspinall. I think both of them are about on par when it comes to striking level, I would say. They're about the same. Maybe Tom Aspinall has the edge since he has so many different finishes on his victory, on his wins. But I do think Tom Aspinall can win this fight just about anywhere it goes. So I'm going to put Tom Aspinall maybe third round submission. So, yeah, Tom Aspinall. And you guys know why? Because what the boss says goes, baby. Woo!
Well, I mean, that's our year summed up there. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Hunter. I think this is Tom Aspinall's fight to lose. And the reason I think that is that I simply think in that every department of fighting, I think Tom Aspinall is better than Curtis Blaydes. Now, Curtis Blaydes is a great wrestler, don't get me wrong, but Tom Aspinall is a better active wrestler. He's a better offensive wrestler, in my opinion. I mean, we saw that against Alexander Volkov, a much, much bigger fighter, by the way. And Tom Aspinall held him down like it was nothing. It was no effort whatsoever. Now, I give it to you that Alexander Volkov is not the wrestler Curtis Blaydes is, but the principle is applicable if you think about it the same way. Now, striking, Tom Aspinall is clearly better than Curtis Blaydes. Submission game, Tom Aspinall is much better than Curtis Blaydes is. Realistically, the only path for Curtis Blaydes to win is the path that Hunter mentioned, which is basically being the decisionator again, having a really boring fight, throwing 5 punches per round, getting it to the ground, and just doing nothing, basically. Whereas Tom Aspinall can win this fight in really a number of ways. He can get a submission, he can take it to the ground and out-wrestle Blaydes, and he can definitely knock Curtis Blaydes out. I mean, I'm very high on Tom Aspinall. I know both you guys are as well. And I think, quite frankly, in the current heavyweight division, I think Aspinall could be the toughest test for Francis Ngannou eventually.
Yeah.
Because I think all roads lead to Ngannou when he is back from his ACL surgery. So for me, in terms of the actual finishing sequence, I see a quicker finish. You know, Tom Aspinall is generally very active. He doesn't wait around for the finishes. I say second round knockout against the fence. I think Curtis Blaydes is going to dive in, miscalculate. I think he's going to get clocked, and then I think he's going to get finished. And I think Tom Aspinall main events both London events, and he wins both London events. And guys, do you know why this is the case? Do you know why Tom Aspinall wins London Part 1 and Part 2? Because when you want to know where it's at, you listen to the Mac. Like Mark Morrison.
Fantastic. Yes, on the same page, Tom Aspinall wins. I think Curtis Blaydes, I would probably maybe give him the power advantage. I think that because he's coming off, again, credit to him. He did not have a boring out last time. He knocked Chris Dawkins out, or is it Kyle? One of the Dawkinses he knocked out cold. And this next fight is just, Tom Aspinall is so well-rounded, and his fight IQ is ridiculous. I think he has a better arsenal on the feet. Grappling or takedowns, right? Wrestling, I give to Curtis Blaydes. But on the ground, Tom Aspinall might be the most dangerous active heavyweight off his back right now, except for Alexei Oleinik. But Aspinall is so good on the ground, and he literally did a straight armbar versus Alexander Volkov, who's the lankiest guy you could find at heavyweight right now. How he pulled that off, I have no idea. If he can do that to Volkov, I think he can do it to Curtis Blaydes as well, but in any different way. He's so crafty on the back. That's his base is jiu-jitsu. That's what his dad taught him growing up. He's expanded towards, he's good on the feet. His grappling is good. I would give, I mean, we haven't really seen it tested. Gas tank, I'd still probably edge towards him too, because we've seen Curtis Blaydes get really tired 4th and 5th rounds of fight. I don't think this is going to be a fast one. I think this is going to be a fast one. Sorry. I think it's going to be done round 1. Probably submission. I think, Curtis Blaydes might take him down and then cut in like a triangle or something like that. Or I could also see Tom Aspinall hurting Curtis Blaydes towards the fence and then dropping him, TKOing him, or dropping him, then switching to a rear naked choke. Those are kind of my, my visions I'm getting from this fight. So I think Tom Aspinall, round 1, submission, TKO, whatever. I think it's going to be done fast. I think the environment's going to carry him. If it's anything like UFC London Part 1, we are going to be in for a treat. Something you cannot miss. Let's not forget, earlier this year, we witnessed the greatest fight night of all time. And now they're back. I'm so excited. It's going to be great. I agree with you. Sweep for Tom Aspinall on the podcast. Love it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Jack,
yeah.
why is it that it's
I forgot
the MMA Island podcast?
Thank you.
Tell the people why.
Thank you for the assist, Keelan. Thank you. You didn't have to do it.
I'm like Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, I love it. Because you know why, guys. If you want the facts, you listen to Jack. There we go.
Very nice. Very nice.
I really appreciate it.
Boys, it's a UFC London card, and there's one name we haven't mentioned.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Oh, Patty the Batty. Oh, Patty the Batty. Oh, Patty the Batty. Boys, if you guys aren't tuning in to this fight night this weekend, you guys are doing something wrong, okay? It's an early card, all right? If you guys don't know, you guys know it now.
Yeah.
I believe it's 12 o'clock Eastern time.
Yep.
In the early prelim start and the prelim start. And then the main event or the main card should start around 1 o'clock. So tune in. It's an early one. Make sure to get your popcorn or breakfast, whichever one you guys want to do. Whatever time you're at, it's going to be fun.
Yes, absolutely. And for my peoples in the Ireland/UK/North Atlantic/European region of the world, like Hunter said, it's actually a decently timed card for us for once. Aside from last weekend, that was pretty good as well. But this one is perfectly timed for us. You have no excuse, like Dana White says and like Hunter Boss says. Dana White gets his quotes from Hunter Boss, not the other way around. If you don't know, now you know. It's on early. It's on. It's perfect. It is an epic night. If it is anything like UFC London 1, it is going to be absolutely brilliant. I wish I was there. Sadly, I'm not going to be, but I am there in spirit, just like Jack and Hunter are. Tune in. Make sure you do not miss it. Get your breakfast, your popcorn. I'm sure if you're in certain parts of America, that could be both. If it is, do whatever you got to do, but make sure you are there. You don't want to miss it.
Don't miss the return of Alexander Gustafsson. Paul Craig is also on the card. Muhammad Mokaev. It's stacked. Cannot wait. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can listen to us everywhere, literally everywhere, including iTunes and Spotify. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at MMA.island and check out our website, MMAisland.net. Again, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the fights, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Also, before we go, we do have an update. We have a brand new MMA Island Instagram page coming.
Oh, yes.
In the works. Ooh,
yes.
That's right.
Stay tuned.
It's only taken 2 years, but we are coming soon. The roadwork signs are up. Check us out very soon.